Thank you very much, Job, for that concise and actually quite well presented submission. I think CAM will be a critical consortium partner around the engagement on competitiveness with manufacturers, and of course the integration of the value chains that has been mentioned by previous speakers as well. So with that, we come to the end of that segment on presentations. We now move over to the final, which is not the final, the penultimate segment, where we want to hear directly from operators on the ground. What have been their experience? What are some of the challenges in their own words that they face? And also hear some pointers from them on how we can resolve or improve those challenges, as well as utilization of AGOA going forward. So at this point, I want to invite the chairperson of United Aryan EPZ Limited, Pankaj Bedi, to give his submission. Over to you, Pankaj.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pankaj Bedi, Chairman of Balaji EPZ Group, having an export processing zone and apparel manufacturing companies employing more than 10,000 direct workers in Kenya. I also chair EPZ apparel and textile sector and a board member of KM. I'm here to speak on behalf of not only my company, but the entire sector. My aim today is to try and put things into context from a bigger picture perspective by sharing from where we are coming, where we are, and what needs to be done. My experience so far has been mix of all, good, bad, and ugly. As since we have started, we have survived civil unrest due to political evolution, global financial crisis in 2008, and now COVID, and we know what has happened in COVID. AGOA is the biggest driver for our apparel and textile sector, especially in Sub-Saharan Africa. Even we are here because of AGOA. AGOA, according to me, is the biggest ever opportunity lost. And I say lost is because neither buyers nor governments of Africa and America took real benefits of AGOA so far. Buyers kept looking at getting cheapest price instead of developing long-term partners. African governments never truly got connected to the opportunity that they are getting duty-free market access into a $20 trillion GDP American market with thousands of products allowed duty-free, and never used it to their advantage to create the impactful jobs and forex which they desperately need. So I think that has been the biggest drawback in our story. American government on the other side could have developed Sub-Saharan Africa as an alternative manufacturing hub against Asia by encouraging their corporates to source from Africa, should have invested with private sector to build capacities and even support skill development throughout different sectors, but they didn't. If that was done, then by now American dependency on Asian countries would have reduced and the supply chain disruptions could have been under control too, which we have seen now. There's so much of supply chain disruptions are going on. Like I said, no serious strategy on agenda by any stakeholder was laid down for longer term good. So even though AGOA is a great initiative, but no stakeholder worked towards eradicating the challenges which manufacturing investors have been facing for so many years. We've been discussing in different platforms, we've been talking to governments, but in the end, there is no, I would say, real implementation of what has been discussed. So frankly, everyone listens, but in the end, let the investors fight their own battle, assuming that all of us are doing great. The truth is that no one is doing great. Having said that, not all is bad. We in Kenya have few better than many things. Like we have a great export processing zone policy. I always advocate that even in other African countries also. We have good port and overall better logistics compared to other countries in Africa. Our forex policy is very liberal. And above all, we have great workforce who's willing to adapt and work hard. What we are lacking in is the ability of government to keep cost of living low. Instead, they keep increasing the wages, which does not help anyone as the cost of living keeps going up. Hence, workers do not save anything, yet we continue to cost ourselves out from global competitiveness. On this, we've been having a lot of discussions previously also. And that has been one of the things that, we never get clarity on how we are going to cost. And in our sector, generally, we are selling core items, which are replenishment programs and all that. So we tend to get challenged on the pricing and all that because of this. Every time they change, increase the cost, and that's been a year-round process. If government simply makes sure to keep 15 household items priced very low, which makes our workers' monthly basket like staple food, cooking oil, cooking gas, etc., then there is no need to increase wages on regular intervals, which will help companies remain globally competitive, as well as have clear visibility on their long-term costs. In fact, in 2020, finally, government had, agreed to take the tax bracket to a higher level. So that has helped the workers, even though the salary was not increased. So those kind of initiatives are required. Apart from that, I would say energy costs compared to even our competitors in Africa is very high. If we just compare it with Ethiopia, where a textile mill is getting electricity at 2.5 cents compared to our cost at 70 cents, we can all do the maths. Banking sector is fairly good, but conservative towards our sector. Cost of borrowing is very high, almost double than our global competition. So this must be addressed too. Especially now after COVID, banks are very conscious because they've seen the whole disruption happening and all that across Asia also. So banks are rather more conservative now. On the other hand, our buyers have been continuously looking for cheaper prices, while average inflation in Africa is 15% year on year. So one can imagine the struggle. If we do not take the orders, then we are stuck, as we have permanent workforce. Due to the compliances and all that, we have to maintain the permanent workforce. And if we take the orders at low prices, then we continue to lose. So it's always been a dilemma for the manufacturing sector here. Though in last couple of years, a few American buyers actually heard us and have created Africa-specific strategy for their supply chain and have genuinely got connected to the bigger long-term story. And frankly, they are in much better place than others as far as their supply chain is concerned. But before that, for almost 16 years, companies had their own struggle to fill their lines, and then came COVID in 2020, and then there was that disruption in the market. Finally, I would say that buyers are getting connected to the whole idea now. Despite of all the current and past challenges, frankly, I am personally more confident than ever that good times are ahead and a win-win environment can be created for all the stakeholders. And this is what, frankly, my personal hope is from this forum also, that we will find some ways for the investors and get them a long-term solution here. The trade war we know between China and US is not going to end soon, which means further disruptions in supply chains will continue for long term. So it would be best now that the American companies also start looking at the African suppliers as their strategic partners in their supply chain, and not just as an opportunity like a price point or something. They have to have a long-term strategy going forward. Other fact is that India and China are self-reliant and self-consuming. They have the capacity to buy all what Asian countries are producing, and their own demand will continue to increasing. Then eventually, who will supply to the Western world is the big question which needs to be addressed. And this we have been discussing for last 10, 12 years. Only few companies have frankly, heard us. And like I said, they have now got the Africa strategy. And that's what we require actually. Logically, Africa should be the alternative. And by the way, Africa own needs will also keep growing. And now with Africa free trade being implemented, which makes entire Africa continent as one domestic market, the manufacturers will want to do more inter-Africa trade instead of with America. As with America comes hundreds of compliances, price war, and even though the market access is there, but many are not ready for that. But there are still many companies which are set to serve American market. There are local and international manufacturing companies which can grow their capacities to serve to serve America, provided there is a clear visibility of AGOA extension policy, at least for 15 years, and the gaps are sorted. What gaps we've been talking about, if they can be sorted out. Another big challenge for our sector has been that there is no local supply chain ecosystem specific to our sector, which is why the inefficiencies are much higher than Asian counterparts who can source everything locally off the shelf, whereas we need to import most of our raw materials. And now with the logistic challenges, it makes it worse. So investing in fully integrated value chain is most critical. And even for us to make a sample, we have to source it from 5 different countries, bring them by courier, make them and deliver. So it's a huge challenge. So that needs to be addressed now. One can argue that why in last 20 years of AGOA, we could not sort out all this, and what will change in next 15, 20 years. And that's the big question here. But the only difference today, I would say, is that, in last 20 years, there was not a clear understanding of the opportunity by the stakeholders. But now it's kind of a common goal, and it's both sides, everybody need. So I'm hoping that, we will have a common ground and we will support the sector. We all must also note that the entire transformation is a 40 to 60 year run, not walk out. So the point is, if we talk about third country fabric and talk about compare it with the yarn forward rule, even under the FTA, if we get FTA, we will have a yarn forward rule. But we don't have the ecosystem. We do not have the whole setup to manufacture different kinds of fabrics which the industry needs. So it is generally, we had created a spread and we distributed it also, that it is almost 40 to 60 years, it'll take to set that whole ecosystem. So we need to consider that also. So in crust, basically, my ask for the sector would be that American and African governments to get fully committed, no more presentation studies and implement, but they should now, focus on implementing the hundreds of studies which are done with the gap studies and all that. Those are the ones which we start implementing now, and then make investments in the specific sectors to create long-term value and not only focus on revenue generation. In our EPZ, we have a 10-year tax exemption, but that's of no use because we don't have profitable companies. Then if you don't have profitable companies, how we are going to be long-term sustainable? So we need to make profitable companies. Then the key thing here is the extension of AGOA clearly without any fringes for 15 years till 2040, and later to be transformed gradually into a FTA between USA and Sub-Saharan Africa, so that investors, buyers, and all stakeholders get committed to a long-term plan. Then create and support big anchor companies who have the ability to perform and which can feed the local ecosystem that will naturally sort out SME, self-employed, women empowerment, and so many other related socio-economic challenges. And by the way, our sector employs 75% women, which is a great help for any household to have 2 earners in the family, and surely will boost the local economy. So all in all, we need to support the sector now, and 100% commitment from all the stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pankaj, for that submission and then for your candor. It is clear that there's definitely a lot of work to be done to streamline the efforts around the sector. And you're right. I mean, it's not for a lack of strategy. It's not a lack for a lack of intervention. It's really about commitment. It's about implementing and making sure that we're able to move the needle so that there is meaningful impact to those businesses that are in this space. So we hope that through this platform, we're actually able to do exactly that. So thank you so much for your submission.
Thank you.
I want to invite Joseph Murigi, Head of Human Resource and Administration at Jungle Nuts EPZ Limited, to give his submission. Please, if you could stick to around 7 minutes, that would be great. Murigi, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Maxwell. First of all, apologies because I won't be on the camera since I'm having some challenges with my video output. My names are Joseph Murigi. I'm the head of Human Resource and Administration at Jungle Nuts Limited. I'm representing Jungle Nuts at the AGOA Exporters Roundtable on behalf of our CEO, Honorable Patrick Wainaina, who has sent his apologies. Jungle Nuts Limited is a Kenyan company based in Thika with tremendous heritage and leakage to the local community. We are processors and exporters of organic macadamia nuts, macadamia oil, cashew nuts, organic avocado oil, and also fresh avocados, organic coffee, and also dried fruits. Our company mainly focuses on small-scale farmers across Kenya. At the moment, we have about 50,000 registered farmers who sell their product or their produce rather directly to our company. We have directly created hundreds of jobs to the local community who are employed at our factory. Our main priority as a company is to create a stable market for goods produced from farms. At inception, we had a focus on and started with macadamia nuts, whereby we later diversified to cashew nuts. And today, our scope has widened beyond what we could have imagined at the beginning. However, we noticed that relying on one product may be difficult to earn these farmers enough revenue to allow them tend to their farms in an economically viable manner. Therefore, we took the initiative of looking for markets for even the other produce, which farmers already had in their mixed farming, e.g. avocados, coffee, and fruits. And by so doing, we are able to buy as much as possible from the farmer, hence higher revenue for them. About exporting to US and also about the AGOA, Jungle Nuts Limited discovered US market more than a decade ago and is one of the leading macadamia nuts exporters to the US in the sub-Saharan Africa. Sales of macadamia nuts to the US have really increased in recent years. US remains the largest export market for our macadamia nuts, leading with about 60%. European countries, that is Germany, Netherlands, France, etc., follow with about 30%, while other countries, e.g. Israel, Japan, share the remaining 10%. Our macadamia products are mainly shipped to US via ocean freight transport. And why US market or why AGOA? Kenyan sales of macadamia nuts to the US have greatly increased due to the fact that there is ease of doing business with the US as far as export market is concerned. And I think these benefits have been brought by the collaboration between Kenya and also the US, that is at AGOA. The increased sales have seen or have greatly contributed to the expansion of Kenyan industries, as well as supporting thousands of small-scale farmers across Kenya. This means that when industries expand or when there's that growth within industries, there's creation of more jobs, and also when the small-scale farmers are well supported by selling their produce to us and to other food processing industries. Definitely, they are able to take their kids to school, pay bills, and improve their living standards. So that is how AGOA and the US market has positively impacted Kenyan economy. However, in order to achieve all this, we have got our strengths and also our weaknesses, or maybe the challenges. To begin with the strengths, our main success has been production of high quality food products. Our most important priority has been to control food safety hazards in order to ensure that food is safe at the time of consumption. And through this, we have been able to penetrate and maintain the US market with ease. Before any shipping is done, we attach certificates in compliance with US food safety standards. Such certificates are Food and Drug Administration, that is the FDA certificate, a Generalized System Prevalence GSP certificate, and also non-GMO certification. But also we have got both the local and international certification bodies who carry out regular audits on our food manufacturing processes, such as FSSC 22000. We have got EcoCert certified. We are also CAPE certified, Kaizen, organic certification, kosher, halal, etc. The other strength that we have is the online marketing. Due to the worldwide travel restrictions contributed by COVID-19 pandemic, especially last year, Jungle Nuts embarked on online marketing. Use of internet, websites, WhatsApp, Facebook, etc. has helped us to interact with large number of customers interested in our products, therefore boosting our sales. The other the other strong area that we have is the electronic purchase of farm produce and mobile money transfer, therefore getting rid of any middlemen, which is very important for farmers to reap full value of their produce at 100% price. They receive their payment in real time via the available money transfers. We also have got macadamia and avocado seedlings nurseries. We run our nurseries, which has got a capacity of around 100 seedlings, which we supply every year to all farmers at subsidized prices, without expecting them to reciprocate by way of selling their crop to us. Therefore, we increase or we assist the farmers to increase their produce capacity. Also, our plant capacity and machinery is up to date. Also, we have adopted the technology, the modern technology. Our factory has a capacity of processing 70 tons per day, and therefore, with the AGOA market, with the US market, we are able to supply them. The main challenges that
Joseph,
we have been experiencing.
Joseph,
yes?
In the interest of time, I'm going to suggest, I know you're just about to talk about challenges. I'm going to
Yes.
suggest that you hold that thought. I'm sure Dr. Marube will explore that with you when we get to the discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, so that we can catch up on time.
Yes.
I want to invite Jinal to also give his brief submission, and then we'll move on to the conversation component of.
All right, no problem, no problem.
Thank you very much. Jinal, over to you. If you could keep it concise, 7 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Maxwell. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gina Shah. I hope you can hear me. Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jinal Shah. The Chief Business Officer of Umoja Rubber Products Limited. We are a 43-year-old footwear manufacturer based in Kilifi County here in at the coast. And we started 40 years ago manufacturing, the slippers, the basic slippers. We somehow we are manufacturing, we started with 20 people in that time, and now we have about 2,500 people working under on one site. We are vertically integrated and not only manufacturing slippers, but quite a wide range of footwear. How did we end up in the US market, and how did we start in the US market, exporting to the US? Well, it was almost quite by chance or by accident. We had the USAID Trade Hub sent some potential buyers over. They came to see us in 2018, and what we have seen is due to the trade war
with China, all of a sudden footwear from Africa becomes very, very attractive to American buyers. But there is a problem. There's not many manufacturers around who can really give what the American American buyer wants to have. But we took up that challenge. We really wanted. We are producing 80 million pairs, but selling almost every pair in East and Central Africa. We don't have a solid foreign market, any Western market. So we decided to take this challenge and start to work with the American buyers. So, these are the kind of products. These are winter boots, which we manufactured for our customers, and canvas shoes. I will just go straight on to the challenges. This is not a very easy product to manufacture and export out of Kenya because it needs a lot of materials. This fur, the materials inside, and almost none of the materials are locally available. So we have to inadvertently bring everything in from China. As you know, China is the biggest exporter of footwear, almost 9 billion pairs every year exported out of China. The next biggest one, Vietnam, is 1.5 billion pairs. So, the industry in China is extremely well developed. All the accessories for the shoe, the laces, the trims, the materials, everything is readily available. So immediately the customers started to complain that when we ask China for a sample, we get it in within 1 week, and in Kenya a sample would take us at least 2 months to prepare, because we have to wait for the materials to come in, make the samples, then send it to the US. So a lot of time spent there. So already we are at a disadvantage in terms of that. And, it's the era of fast fashion. So customers really want to see a sample within a week. Everything is okay, place orders, and shipment should go out. So the other thing which the customers find really a problem are the logistics. No good direct links from China, no vessels calling directly to East Africa, and no vessels going directly to the US. So any project, from the time it is confirmed, you need at least 120 days, for the product to reach the destination. And with today's with the logistical problems that we are seeing around the world, this has even gotten worse. So logistics is a major problem. The supporting industries, materials, machinery, ancillaries, auxiliaries, availability is a big problem. So, we are struggling, but we are trying to make something out of it. We have interested buyers who keep on, are hand-holding us. So we are trying to do that, but not every buyer will hand-hold, will be patient. Let's hope that we can develop, and a lot of government support is needed to encourage other investors, material manufacturers, and to invest in these regions so that footwear products can be easily manufactured. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jinal, for that submission, and congratulations on the work that you're doing and breaking into the US market. So at this point, I'm going to switch gears, and I want to invite Dr. Wilfred Marube, who's the CEO of Keproba, to moderate a discussion with the presenters, and also if there's any questions that are coming from the audience, please do submit those on chat. And then he should be able to guide the conversation and have those addressed. So the presenters, speakers, if you could please turn on your camera so that you can have an engagement with Dr. Marube. Over to you, Dr. Marube. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I wish to appreciate the presenters for their in-depth information and insights and the experiences within which they have shared with us regarding how do we best make use of this opportunity within the AGOA, specifically in the next 4 years, that is up to 2025. And I would want to go straight to basically just premised on the initial presentation, whereby we require to get some outcomes. Because as rightly pointed out by one of the presenters, that is Ezekiah, basically, what are the challenges and how do we fix them? And what do we need to do first in these first 4 years? So if we look at the first presenter, that was Madam Flora Mutai, the chairperson. Basically, our focus was on SME empowerment. Then within the context of AGOA, what propositions or what proposals do we have in terms of empowering the SMEs to access the markets within the 4 years, so they're able to get the best out of it? Perhaps I'll leave this open to the panelists, picking up from the aspect of SME empowerment, because SMEs actually are the ones who need and wholly need a lot of support. So how do we best support them within the remaining 4 years? Yes, kindly, Mr. Bedi.
Hi. My personal take is that, SME, we somehow get confused while supporting SME. We need to support them. It is very, very critical for us because of the ecosystem we want to create. But, what we try to do in Kenya is tell the SME that I'm going to take you to USA to have a linkage with the buyer. And then you come back, I'm going to give you money, I'm going to give you skill, I'm going to give you this and that, but I will not give you a policy. By policy, I mean is that a SME actually needs a policy on tax, in the sense that as a startup, you get, let's say, 5 to 7 years that you don't have to pay tax. Their problem is not the business, their problem is not the skill, because they must be having a skill, that's why they have a business. Their problem is to get funding, and funding you will never get if you don't have books. Anybody and everybody in the banking sector will speak about SMEs, but they will not lend money to anybody who's not secure. And then government is not giving them time to create their own balance sheet. Once you give them a 5 to 7 year total exemption on tax, but they can file without paying taxes, they will get the opportunity to create their own balance sheet, go to the bank might give them, let's say, $1 million shilling. Next year, they might get 5 million and 10 million. At least they have a growth plan, and they're not worried that if I show that in my book, then tomorrow taxman will come. So that is how even the tax KRA can create a capacity. As far as helping them, I would say, if you have anchor companies, and then you do linkages for them with the anchor companies who are supplying under AGOA, that would be a better path. Because, supplying to USA, you need so many compliances. You have to be sizable to supply to a company like Walmart or to a small mom and pop store, you see, which they are not ready. They don't have resources also. And if they have resources, they will not qualify as a SME. So a company like mine, for example, would need an investment of $100 million to set up the whole system to supply to these big companies. You need merchandising, you need marketing, you need logistics, you need finance, and each are even sourcing. So by the time you do that, you are no more SME. So if we want to help SME, let them be SME and grow. Not try to grow them first and then declare them that you are not SME. That's my take. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Okeo, what are your thoughts from a policy perspective? Can that be done within these 4 years? Is it something that is worthwhile thinking about?
Yeah, SMEs has remained the focus of policy for a while. I think US market, as you have heard from the presenters, is a market that needs so many components to be unbundled for the SMEs to understand. Because even within textile that I zeroed in, there's what is called category 9 products, the hand-woven products that were isolated for SMEs. There was excitement, but because of the challenges that Flora gave some, you realize that how do you meet volumes? Because you're not going to take one bale of whatever garments you are making. So issues of capacity to produce, timely delivery, quality becomes very, very huge. And therefore, we may not start with 4 years for something we have not done for 20 years and succeeded. We just need to dissect the SMEs, find out which products they can quickly jump in. You realize that we are importing fabrics from Asia and then making them and then shifting them to US. And with the production challenges that even Pankaj mentioned for big people, it is very, very difficult. So we need just to jump in. Is it agro products that SMEs grow that they can pack hygienically and meet? And what kind of products? So that we identify the product, then we look at which SMEs we can pack, than looking at SMEs, then looking at products.
Okay, thank you, Manokeo. Starting from the products. Simon, you have an action plan on AGOA. Do you have any thoughts on probably on how would this best be rolled out? Because the SME is actually a national conversation that we cannot really walk away from. Oh, we can't hear you. Please unmute.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you for that. Actually, we need to support SMEs by actually sensitizing them. That's bring visibility to them. Some of these conditions which SMEs face in US, they need to be sensitized and they need to be supported in terms of compliances, in certificates, training, and audits. Another area is assisting them on areas of cargo, I mean, transportation to the US, probably by opening stores in the US, that is warehouses, to reduce some of these challenges. Thanks. Over to you, Marug.
Okay, thank you, Simon. And Simon, again, I need to ask you a question.
Yes.
Yes, we have 4 years to go. What needs to be done now, according to you?
What needs to be done now?
Yes.
Okay, what needs to be done now is the competitiveness. The government needs to put a lot of, needs to enhance competitiveness, because you see some of the exporters from the Asian countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, they've perfected the art of competitiveness. And that's what we need to instill in our SMEs. Over to you.
Okay, Mr. Bedi, and is it Mr. Shah? Now, at least you've experienced that. Is that what you really require? Is it competitiveness? And what stops you as Kenyan exporters to the AGOA market become uncompetitive? What can be done to fix that within the shortest time possible?
Clearly, competitiveness has been our biggest challenge. So we've been talking about that in all the forums. Clearly, we have to focus on competitiveness, and competitiveness is energy, which we discussed. Competitiveness is also creating the ecosystem, because one is our local cost, and then what is our cost to bring in the raw material into the country to produce here and export. So competitiveness, we can list down 10 items for you. We have been discussing for 10, 12 years, which if are targeted, then we are globally competitive. So if you look at the history of Bangladesh, which is today exporting $33 billion of garments, right? With 5 million direct jobs. And we are at how much? $450 million with around 45,000 direct jobs. There is a huge gap of opportunity which is available, but they have a clear policy on wages. So they have, like I said in my speech also, they have focused on cost of living, not increasing the wages. So, but at even if it was $50, for example, per month, the worker could still procure their 15 products in their food basket every month. The rice, the sugar, the salt, and all those things. Here, you increase the wage by 15%, everything goes up by 20%. Next day morning, milk goes up, bread goes up, and everything goes up. So that has been one challenge, because our earning component is the worker's time, which is the biggest component of our earning. Rest is all, product which we are importing, raw material and using. So as a manufacturer, we are only selling machine time, which is the worker's time. We are not selling a garment and making money. We are selling the machine time and making money. So if we are not able to control that cost, which is our component, which is a local component, then we have a problem. And that has been our long-term problem also.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Bedi.
And also, we need to start talking about extension of AGOA. FTA is not good for us, for Kenya. It is not good for us right now. We cannot get disconnected from our other community, neighboring community in Africa with COMESA, with EAC, and on, the entire Africa. We need to go along with everybody. And there is opportunity. If we have a dialogue, we can get extension of AGOA. It is required. Not only Kenya, but other countries in Sub-Sahara also need that. So once we have that visibility, now if you tell anybody today to come from Asia to come and invest here with a 4-year visibility, nobody will come and invest, frankly. Because by the time you come, you build a structure, you bring in your machines, you train, you get orders, 3-4 years are gone. Nobody will invest on that risk. So that is one subject we need to address. So these two are the most critical points, I guess.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Shah, your experience?
Jinal, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Kindly unmute. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Marube. We, like I said, we are very new, 2018, and we just took a chance with these buyers. I mean, some of, we found an agent who was willing to represent us in the US and really talk the buyers into taking a chance on an African footwear manufacturer. Some of them could not believe it. So we had to do a video call and show them that we are really a factory and we are manufacturing. They didn't believe it. Even the customs did not believe that the shoes are coming out of Africa, because they have not seen such kind of inflows. So the customs had to do an audit on the other side. So what I'm trying to get at is that there's need of a little bit of publicity or some kind of with American buyers to get to know that there are possibilities of doing these things in Africa. There are factories that exist, but have not been given the chance to look at the US as a possible buyer. And we were always used to our local market, and with the American buyer, like Mr. Bedi said, that when you are talking to a big brand, you need to have that kind of face. You need to put a different kind of face forward. Different challenges. They are more concerned about lead times. Apart from competitiveness, lead times are important. The quality control, the speed at which we can react. These are the things that are taking us back as compared to Bangladesh, Indonesia, China, etc.
Okay, thank you very much. So far, I think we've been able to glean out two particular issues in terms of SME empowerment, support, and capacity building to participate effectively the other aspects on competitiveness of our industries and our products. And now, Ezekiah, Mr. Okeyo, you actually posed 4 questions, which I believe perhaps you could be able to give us answers to, which will give us a way forward. The 4 questions that you posed in terms of those already in business like Mr. Bedi and Shah, how do you support them entrench themselves further and basically expand their business within this particular time? The other ones who joined within after 2014, that is the new entrants who are less than 6 years old. And then how do we onboard the other players who are not exporting to the US? And finally, how do we invite investments into the value chain for the AGOA market? Mr. Okeyo.
Thank you. Yes, we need the textile sector to be entrenched deep, and therefore attracting investment is the key thing, and retaining those who are there, supporting them to make their product. One of the issues of the competitiveness, energy, I believe Kenyans are expectant that come December, the presidential task force report will be implemented, and we see a third, if not more, of the electricity tariffs. So that is one area of addressing competitiveness. For those who are new and we are attracting, we are looking at the new sites, the special economic zones and the expanded export processing zones. Pankaj confirmed that Kenya's EPZ program is good, and therefore we are deepening the investment zones spread across the country where AGOA team visited to make sure that we deepen our export processing zones. Athi River is full, almost so, or there are sites that have been taken but not built. So we are just expanding the scope for investment in terms of improvement. The logistics are improving, and I believe if the developments we are seeing on the other trade logistics, handling issues online, we believe that even aspects of travel clearances and goods freights can improve. So those 3 broad areas, as we are looking at how can the economy stabilize that workers are not asking for more salaries, not because they like it, but because they cannot afford the life that the economy subjects them to. Everyone think that that is the direction to go, and we believe that if economy is stabilized, then even the aspects of salary stabilizes, and therefore those 4 aspects of competitiveness can be handled. As we are tightening the other areas where leakages in terms of quality aspects, competing unfairly with our industries to stop them from maximizing their productivity in terms of counterfeits, standard aspects, and all the areas. I believe the direction we are going is good. And in terms of integrating the sector of garments downstairs, upwards actually to the upstream, the movements in the cotton sector, we believe, if it is deepened, will give us the investments that we are looking for in the production of fabrics locally, because no one wants to import, but if they're not getting it the right quality and quantity, then we'll continue to be hanging on the shoulders of China and India. We believe the approval of the BT cotton and the hybrid cotton seeds development, the movement going around the whole fiber industry, including the non-cotton like silk and the rest, can give us some impetus to deepen the integration of the sector upwards.
Okay, thank you very much. As it had been rightly said in the beginning, we have been unable to fully exploit the over 6,000 tariff lines. Just beyond that, and that is to you, Simon. I don't know if you are still in the call. We know that the horticulture sector is quite vibrant, apart from tea and coffee. Do you think there are some things we could do? Because I do believe that's an area that we have a comparative advantage as Kenya. Actually, even competitive advantage, if we're able to fix up our logistical challenges. Are there plans to that? Is it something you may want to focus on?
Yes. Actually, what you've mentioned is when you talk of horticultural products, it's one of our products in the strategy. apart from textile and apparel, tea, coffee. There's need to enhance on horticultural produce because we have a competitive advantage in Kenya. And also we can build what we call a critical mass. In case we are given an order in US, the country can be able to mobilize small scale farmers to export to these markets. Over to you, CEO.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming that. I think that is one of the low-hanging fruits for the remaining 4 years if you could be able in terms of export market diversification. And as I come to a close, we realize that the aspects upon logistics basically has a big impact on, I know that we've spoken about it, but what do you think players need to do to improve the logistical space so that our goods are able to get to the market fastest, we're able to source the raw materials as fast as possible? Is this something that government needs to do, or is it something for private sector? It's an open question.
I think it has to be driven by both, because private sector can only come to government, and you have to put your weight behind it to get those things sorted out. Like today, frankly, it's not only Kenya, I would say, it's all the countries are facing this challenge because the shipping lines have, created a monopoly. They are the ones who are driving the rate. And then obviously, the agents and all are taking advantage of it. So we had some meetings with on this, and my question to them was that initially you kept telling us that because of COVID, there's no trade and there is no movement of goods. Right, so goods have gone somewhere and they're not coming back. Then now and so we don't have container. That's why the price is going up. Now, when you have space in the vessel, why the price is going up? Because if I can pay a premium to a agent, he can get me a container. That means you have a space. So it's a broader issue. Even America is trying to, is struggling to actually manage it. President Biden has got into it. They've got all those challenges around. But it is basically a mafia, and somewhere the government, not only Kenyan government, but other governments also on an Africa level need to come together and start, bringing these guys on table and tell them to bring the cost down. Because they are making huge profits now. It's not that they are losing. So it's just the syndicate has been made. There used to be, I think, almost around about 40 companies, vessel companies. Today, there are almost only around about 15 companies. Some have bought each other and all that. So it's become like a syndicate, and that will continue. We do have local challenges, which time to time again we address and we sort them out. So I can't complain that we have some serious challenges. We had challenges around SGR, which are sorted out, especially for EPZ. We got exemption to clear it in Mombasa or bring it by rail as we want. So those things we can still manage. But these global related issues are the ones which only government can address, and try to lobby around with the other nations also to put some pressure. And that's what America is trying to do. We should all join together and do it. India is also trying to do. But these guys are a syndicate.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Sorry.
Just to put things into context, a $1,600 freight is costing $9,000 today. So you can imagine.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen, for the discussions. Before I hand over back to Maxwell, perhaps any closing remarks from Mr. Okeo?
Yes, we are crossing our fingers on the fate of AGOA. There was a recent meeting between the US and African ministers, and they left that meeting expectant as well, but not knowing exactly what's going on, because if it is renewed, it is not with the AGOA we know. Therefore, we do not know the nature it could take, how long, and in what form. But the Biden administration is very, very clear that AGOA has not helped, and even if it is renewed, a reciprocal arrangement is the long-term engagement, which is win-win situation for America and Africa. So that's what on the table as far as we know. So we are waiting to see what form, if at all extended, if not, what kind of reciprocal arrangement will be good and win-win for Africa and US.
Okay, thank you. Bana Simon?
Thank you, CEO. What I can say at this moment is that the country needs to utilize the remaining 4 years of AGOA to maximize on it. Because in terms of US, they have already signaled to us that they are not going to renew the AGOA. They are not going to extend beyond 2025. And regarding Kenya-US FTA, it is something I may not be able to comment because it's still work in progress. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bedi, your closing remarks.
Chair, I think on AGOA, we need to get together and start lobbying. Just I want to brief you what we have done from a private sector with KM. We have gone ahead and signed with the association called American Apparel and Footwear in US, which has their members are all these big brands and retailers. So this is what we did last month. We signed with them, and now we are doing collaboration with them to lobby for us. They are also, by the way, they are also in agreement because they are representing all these retailers and brands which are actually our buyers. They are also in agreement that the AGOA should be extended for 15 years. So I must tell you, the trade has moved on. The trade, global trade has shifted. We need to shift with that and set up our own agendas now. I think the clear agenda and clear mandate for EPZA was to bring in big investors, big companies to support the entire value chain and SMEs and self-employment and all that, which we have achieved to a point, but we had greater opportunity. We could have done better, but let's not go there. My point is, AGOA needs to be extended. We should start negotiating now and not go towards the FTA. Even though, frankly, I was one of the persons who were pushing for FTA because at the time of President Trump, we clearly thought it is not going to be extended. But now with Biden administration, there is a buy-in. More importantly, because of the trade shift, the American importers are supporting it because they also want to be in regions which are duty-free and they want to support that alternative sourcing and all that. And they know that we are not ready to serve their kind of capacities. So there's a huge opportunity. We are not ready at all. We are not ready, even from EPZA perspective, we are not ready with the infrastructure. If we are sold out in Nati River, it's not a good sign, by the way, because we don't have space. I had some SME who wanted 1,500 square feet. We could not get them the space. So you can understand. So it has to be a 15, 20-year walk. We as a government have to take a very, very clear stance that we want to extend this. We need to lobby around with the other AGOA partners, countries, and push for that. Sooner we'll get that sorted out, we will start getting investment naturally because the time has shifted. Everybody's looking for alternative in supply chain to Asia, and it's the best time for us. And we are on that front, we are kind of ready because we are ahead of many of the others. You know? So I would say we should just now change our stance and focus on 5-10 big agendas and do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Shah, your closing remarks. Please unmute. Please unmute. Okay, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I was just talking to somebody else on the phone.
Please proceed.
No, I was talking to somebody else.
No, I'm saying your closing remarks. We will come into a close of the discussion.
Yeah,
your closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words regarding our experience with AGOA and exporting to the United States. For us, it's a discovery phase, and yes, AGOA does help. I do agree that it needs longer term, longer than 2025, definitely, so that with our current experiments, you know, we have only exported about 300,000 pairs over the last year, and the figures are much bigger. The market is much bigger. So for us to really get into it, maybe do an Umoja EPZ, a new industry, a new investment, we really need to look longer term. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and also for the delegates for listening in. I hand over back to you, Maxwell, the program. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Marube and fellow panelists. That has been a really, really enlightening conversation that you've had, and good proposals as well that we definitely will take on board. Before we move on to close, I just want to give an opportunity to Joseph Mouriki as well. I know I did interrupt him when he was making his presentation. So Joseph, if you still are with us, kindly, you can go ahead and give us your final thoughts, as well as address a question that was posed in the chat, asking if you could describe some emerging opportunities that you perceive in the US market for Kenya specialty food exporters, such as jungle nuts. 2 minutes. Joseph, go ahead. We can't seem to hear you. I can see your mic is unmuted, but we can't hear you. Okay, looks like Joseph is having a challenge with his sound. So again, just want to thank you so much, panelists, for that, what has been a really insightful conversation. Thank you, Dr. Marube, for moderating that session. It is clear that this roundtable is actually timely and necessary, and one that we definitely want to build on. From what I've gleaned from the various conversations, the issues revolve around 5 big areas. 1, competitiveness. So whether it is from a cost of production perspective, energy has featured prominently in that conversation, aspects relating to cost of labor or wages, the cost of borrowing for especially small companies, and maybe not small companies, it's not limited to small companies, but also the bigger players are facing that challenge compared to other jurisdictions. Then the second big area is around policy and some of the constraints that are there. You know, some of the regulatory requirements, you know, the hoops that you have to go through with documentation and so on. I think the issue of policy, AGOA extension, is actually a policy issue that needs to be addressed as far as creating predictability from a long-term perspective. And whether it will be AGOA as the instrument or a free trade agreement with the US, we wait to see, but definitely one that needs to be taken into consideration. The issue of efficiency is one that has also come up in different forms. So the logistics challenges that have been discussed, the issue of capacity, especially when you're talking about small and medium-sized enterprises, and that relates to standards, relates to the quality of product, as well as the delays that we've talked about at the port and so on. All these go towards efficiency, which is an area that we can also focus on. And then the supply chain constraints and being able to develop assurance around that. I think Pankaj was very vocal around creating an ecosystem that we can rely on, that is within our space, so that we don't have to rely so much in getting in raw materials from outside the country. And then finally, the issue of market intelligence, you know, around some of these agreements, around the opportunities, and related to that, the awareness and promotion of the AGOA opportunity and trade preferences to both business, but I think also generally, you know, the citizenry, so that they are aware of the opportunity on the one hand and the potential transformation that it could create for our country going forward. So in terms of next steps, before I invite Flora Mutai to close for us, we will, based on what we've determined from this particular meeting, create a matrix of some of these constraints and the recommendations that have been given, which have been great, by the way, and prioritize that together with the stakeholders that we identified earlier. We want to prioritize that and develop a plan of action. And that plan of action will focus on the next 4 years. Yeah, so from now to the expiration of AGOA, or maybe before the expiration of AGOA, so that we're able to really narrow down on those critical items that will enable us to have some meaningful movement as far as resolving some of these constraints, so that we're able to utilize and enhance the business or trade under AGOA. And then finally, is to, for us, look at a cycle or a cadence of roughly quarterly, I would say, with most of the work happening in the background, but a quarterly session where we engage and give each other updates and take into account various experiences that may have come up, and as well share information. And so the bulk of the work, as I mentioned, will be happening in the background, with probably monthly check-ins within the various parties involved in this. And we then want to make sure that we are keeping each other abreast of what is happening and actually driving meaningful change. So with that, I want to thank all our partners, USAID, State Department for Trade, KEPROBA, KEPSA, CAM, all the speakers and the presenters who made their submissions today, and indeed to all of you for joining us this afternoon. So with that, I want to invite Flora Mutai, Chair of KEPSA, to close for us. Thank you very much.
Well, now it's evening, so good evening. And I think really it's just to thank everybody for this conversation. It's very, exports, of course, we know is what is going to drive an economy. Look at a year that is coming. We are now heading into an election year. As we know, local sales sometimes do get dampened. So when you, of course, develop your exports, what are you doing? You're getting access to more business, bigger markets, you're diversifying your opportunities, you're expanding the life cycle of your products, and also you're seeking and expanding, of course, creating a lot of jobs. So I believe, and thank you very much, AmCham, for putting this together. It is really important to hear, especially from the practitioners. You know, somebody like Pankaj, a good friend of mine, listening to Jinal and actually looking at the shoe, I couldn't believe that is made in Kenya, and Joseph as well. And those are just a few. So I would like to encourage you to continue to do this. I would like to encourage us to continue to export, because when we become an exporting nation, that is also what will drive numbers. You know, the bigger your markets, the lower your unit costs. I acknowledge the challenges that everybody has brought up, and thank you very much, especially the practitioners. They're bringing up very relevant challenges. You know, we need to sort out our ecosystem. We need to stop relying on one thing. The danger of just dealing with AGOA when we have the Africa Free Trade coming along. So all those are brilliant exchange of ideas, which then helps the
we seem to have lost Flora. Flora, can you hear us? Okay. Eva, can you confirm that this is not just a problem on my side?
No, I think we have lost.
Yes.
All right, we seem to have lost Flora. So I want to, oh, okay, you're back, Flora. We lost you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know why today the network has been terrible, and it's the same network Wi-Fi that I use. However, all I was saying is well done. The importance of exporting, we know. The importance of sharing at a roundtable like this can never be overemphasized. It is important that we all come together so that we build exports. Asanteni sana. Have yourselves a good evening and continue to export.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Flora. Can I ask all the presenters to just turn on their videos? We'll quickly take a photo. We could please turn on your videos as you can.
Hi, Pankaj.
Okay. Yeah. Let's whoever's on the call. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll keep you posted. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.